What's going on, people? Georgio Savvides here, founder of the Hip Hop Orchestra, as well as the host of the Hip Hop Orchestra Presents podcast. And I got a really exciting announcement to finally make with everyone, is that we have our very first official sponsor for the podcast. Now, they are an amazing company called Eldon's Vault, who are extremely dedicated in bringing you the very best in officially licensed merchandise from pop culture. And when I mean the very best, I mean the very best. They provide things like keyrings, caps, t-shirts, to Funko Pops, to statues from all over, such as DC, Marvel, Disney, The Mandalorian, Harry Potter, music artists from all over the place, and they are ridiculously good. I've got a couple of things to show you on offer at the moment. This trust me, their stuff is amazing. So, t-shirts, like I mentioned, like the one I'm wearing right now. It's got Rocky right here, which I absolutely love. Or, like I said, also got Funko Pops as well, 3.75 inches and 10 inches. I've got a couple of 10 inches right here for you. I've got Post Malone right here, and I've also got Biggie right here, who I absolutely love. These are so sick. Eldon's Vault, trust me, they are amazing. Now, I'm going to leave the link below in the video right here, and also in the description below as well in all future videos from the podcast. But trust me, Eldon's Vault are amazing. Website is www.eldonsvault.co.uk. Get in touch with them now and start buying ASAP. But also, before I forget as well, I just want to say the biggest thank you to Eldon's Vault for sponsoring the podcast. It means the absolute world to me. Thank you. And trust me, get in touch with them right now. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And peace. What's going on, people? Welcome to another brand new edition of the podcast. And today we're joined by a truly amazing guest today, film and media composer and multi-instrumentalist Adina Nelu. How are you? Okay?
I'm fine, Georgio. Thank you for having me on this show.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah. Just, in between projects, I'm happy I could make time for this.
Oh,
Actually, I
thank
was
you. Yeah.
postponing it in my mind.
I know
Um,
how busy you are. I mean, looking at the work that you're doing at the moment, you're so busy, aren't you, at the moment?
yeah, or at least I'm managing to keep that impression up on social
Yeah.
media. But yeah, the truth is I've been quite busy, which is good because for a long time, a lot of my projects were postponed, at the start of the pandemic, and I was very I had a lot of spare time, so to speak, for a while, um, which I used towards my career, and the
Yeah.
administrative part, because there's always something to do.
Oh, definitely. I mean, before the pandemic, did you go to a different studio to work? Or I see you got your own setup there, but did you go to a different studio beforehand? Or have you always used your own studio to compose music?
Uh, I, I have a home studio. Well,
Mm.
I'm slowly building up a home studio because I moved in the UK from Romania in 2017.
I
I
saw.
I studied composition for my master's, um, and during that time I used the university facilities, which were absolutely great.
Mm.
And then I slowly started, like shipping over parts of the equipment that I had gathered in Romania. Now I have kind of like half my setup
Mm.
here, but it's more than enough, and I'm really happy that I can work from home basically.
That's fantastic. I mean, how you found the change so far going from Romania to the UK?
Um, well, that's a
Yeah.
that's a very deep subject.
Yeah. No.
Um, well, in Romania, uh, I studied popular music composition for my BA,
Mm.
um, and I was doing uh, different things basically during the 4-year course. 3 of those years I spent being a stage performer for my friend Paula Selling, who's also quite a big name in Romania. So I've been very lucky to have been picked by her.
Mm.
Um, So I was spending a lot of time touring. I was doing backing vocals and playing flute with this
Hmm.
pop band, sometimes with orchestras, sometimes with, I don't think we ever played with big bands, but with all kinds of, ensembles. Um, so it was quite a hard decision for me to come here because things were going well there. I was earning money. I didn't need to pay rent. I had an apartment in Bucharest. So then my BA course ended, and I had to make a decision: will I stay here or will I go? Will I move to the UK? Um, I moved here. My brother was already here. He'd been doing his masters for a year, and it was a shock, you know, uh, because Romania and the UK are two very, very different countries,
Hmm.
at polar opposites of
Yeah.
Europe, so to speak. Um, and the educational system was the first thing that I noticed because I had been a career student, so to speak,
Yeah.
um, studying music for most of my life.
Hmm.
Um, I so the first thing I noticed was how differently they did things in the UK universities. A lot of practice-based research. No one was bothered whether you knew your theory or whether you were very good with music theory. Um, so I had a chance to work on the practical side because in Romania I had learned a lot of theory.
Hmm.
I had dived into, I don't know, harmony, polyphony, counterpoint, all of these almost abstract subjects, for today's world.
Hmm.
Like who needs
Yeah.
who needs the Palestinian counterpoint? Well, turns out that they were all very, very useful in the end because you never know what kind of projects you get with film scoring.
Mm. I mean, what was your first project that you worked on in the film world?
In the film world,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure how to answer this because I worked a lot of projects as a student.
Mm.
Basically, I had to build my portfolio and collaborate with fellow students. That was 2017, 2018. Um, So I'm not sure if I would call those projects because they were kind of like student film projects. But I had a few collaborations during my master's, a few short documentaries done by fellow students, film students, obviously. And then as soon as I graduated, I got my first feature film, which was a big challenge. I only had a
Mm.
laptop at the time and some virtual instruments.
Yeah.
And I managed to score this feature film, well, the best I could at the time,
Mm.
obviously. That was called Casa din Copac. It was a Romanian independent film, Treat House
Hmm.
in English. It was actually a co-production, UK and Romania. It had actors from both countries, I think. So I think I'd call that my first a proper project. It's my first credit on IMDb.
Wow. I mean, to see your name on IMDb, then is that a really weird feeling?
Yeah, because I didn't know how IMDb worked. I didn't know that you can't make an account.
Well, you
So
can't.
basically, no,
Okay.
someone who's worked on a production needs to put you on the credit list. So that's how you appear on IMDb.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
incredible. I know that you studied and got your master's at University of Salford, didn't you, in Manchester,
yeah.
which is where you're based now.
Hmm.
How was your time there in Salford at the University of Salford? Did you really
Oh,
enjoy it?
amazing. I liked it so much that after I graduated, I didn't quite know what to do with myself. And one of my tutors told me, you know what, just pretend you're a student for a while.
Yeah.
Come to the uni ensembles, which I did, and I was part of two ensembles.
Hmm.
I'm still part, in spirit.
Yeah.
They're not practicing at this time, but one of them is the ACMG, the Adelphi Contemporary Music Group,
Hmm.
was uh, was amazing for me because I had a bit of performance anxiety. I mean, pop music, I'm okay to be on stage thousands of people in front of me, I don't really care. But when it comes to getting my flute out and playing something, quite cold,
Yeah.
uh, I freeze. So that was a place of exploration for me, and it helped a lot with my composition as well, because I got to write music for the ensemble and work with it. Um, so I loved University of Salford, and University of Salford loved me because, as it turns out, they offered me a temporary job afterwards. I even taught applied composition there to level 4 students. They
That's
gave me over 100 students on my first
wow.
teaching
Wow.
official teaching experience.
I mean, how was that for you? 'Cause I know that you do teaching as well. I mean, do you still teach now, or was it just for a short period of time?
Uh, I don't teach now with the university. I like to think that I teach informally
Mm.
because you've seen me on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of people asking questions.
Yeah.
So every day there's like, 5 to 15 messages
Yeah.
with questions, which I get to reply and share a bit of my experience. Not that I am, this hugely successful film composer.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me yet. This is not a success story. It's an ongoing story. But as long as I have something to give back, I'm happy to do it.
That's amazing. I mean, when you first started teaching, how did you feel? Were you really nervous or excited? How did you feel?
Both.
Both.
uh, it was I was a bit anxious because I'm not a native English speaker. So that was actually my first worry. My first worry was not that I didn't know the material, that I didn't know how to teach the material. It was the fact that maybe I will, completely black out, because sometimes that happens. I
Mm-hmm.
I can't find a word.
Yeah.
And I just, what is the word? What is the word? What is it? I remember it in Romanian.
Yeah.
And then when I speak Romanian, I do the same. I forget words and I
Yeah.
remember them in English.
I do the same thing as well. But going in before we got into film composing, I know that at 17 you started your own band, TDM, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that for you? Was that really
Um,
exciting?
oh yeah, that was an amazing experience actually. I had no, I didn't know how to run a band, but I was very um, struck with my favorite band at the time, which was Muse.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
uh, let this be the first time I say it officially, because of their frontman, Matthew Bellamy. I'm still doing music at this time because I wanted to give up, and then I discovered their music and I thought, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, Matt,
Yeah.
I know you're not. Um, uh, but yeah, I just put together some people that were equally passionate about music, and somehow convinced them to play my own songs, which is I don't know, it was surreal for me at the time. I think I was like um, 16 when I started
Mm.
actually. um, I wasn't very good. The music was okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to singing over, like a full drum set in a small room. That's a completely new set of challenges. So it was quite hard, but we did have a few gigs.
Hmm.
It was a nice school story, and it was a beautiful shared experience,
Mm.
among the band members.
Yeah. How long did it last for in the end?
Um, I think it started in 20, 2009 maybe,
Okay.
and it
Hmm.
ended in 2012.
Okay. A few
Meanwhile,
years. Yeah.
we changed a lot of band members because they kept growing up.
Yeah.
So this was my hometown. So it wasn't it's not a small town. It's
Hmm.
basically a city in Romania next to the capital city. So when you reach that end of your college, people tend to go to Bucharest to study. So our instrumentalists, they all grew up before me
Yeah.
and they left to Bucharest. So I had to replace them all the
Yeah.
time.
I know that you went to there as well, didn't you? The University of Bucharest. You went there as well, didn't you? Later on,
Yeah,
before
the
Salford.
National University of Music in Bucharest.
Yeah.
Uh,
How's your
yeah,
time there? Did you really enjoy it?
very long.
Uh,
uh, yeah, it was really nice. I had 4 years there. I don't know why courses are so long in Romania.
yeah.
Um, but it was quite an intense experience, and we had a lot of music theory and knowledge bombarded at us,
Hmm.
basically.
Yeah.
It was a heavily theoretical course,
Yeah.
and that helped me a lot on my way to becoming a film composer.
Mm.
A few negative experiences. People
Really?
have very high standards. Um, and it's okay to have high standards, but you need to be aware of, the kind of the possibilities of the student as well, because we can't all do the same thing at the same standards.
Mm.
uh, we we all have our own set of skills, and uh, sometimes my set of skills matched the standards, sometimes it didn't. um, but it was lovely experiences. I'm actually missing Bucharest more and more
I can imagine.
nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, do you prefer, I know it might be a silly question, but do you prefer the theory as opposed to practical, or practical over theory, or mix of both?
Um, I, it's so hard to answer this
Yeah.
actually, because I'm very passionate about, thinking how
Yeah.
it all works behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I compose completely theoretically. I'm thinking, oh, what if I do this? What if I modulate like this? And then I don't necessarily know how it sounds, but then I go to a piano and, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the theoretical part. I love thinking about the implications that it would have on the sonority of a piece, and then I love completely forgetting everything about the
Yeah.
theoretical part and just improvising, playing around with sound design, um, all kinds of experimental techniques that I'm only just discovering. So it's amazing for me to be able to leave that set of knowledge behind and let it work from the background and just focus on texture.
Mm.
I love focusing on texture.
Yeah, I love it too. I know that obviously you play both piano and flute as well, and being a singer-songwriter too. I mean, I know that obviously every project is different, but do you still approach each project kind of in the same way? Like, for instance, do you like play piano first and then build a theme, and then build across that, or do you literally approach each project differently?
I think, yeah, it depends a lot on the kind of projects that on the kind of project that I have. Mostly, yeah, it's the way you said it. I kind of go to the piano, come up with some material, think about it for a while. How I'm gonna arrange it? Am I gonna arrange it? Is this a piano piece?
Hmm.
You know, uh, but a lot of the times I'm actually doing studio composition, so I'm letting the creative process blend with the technical process a lot. So sometimes I'm composing and mixing at the same time, and I have no idea what I'm doing, except that I have a vision in my head, like kind of where I want to get it to. But I just um, rely a lot on the sounds that I find.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm scouting for sounds in my virtual
Yeah.
instruments, in my synthesizers. I use alchemy a lot in Logic, and there's a lot of potential for texture in there, and I love building textures up from those sounds. um, Other times I'm just writing it on paper. It depends, if it's something that I've been taught to do on paper, for example, kind of like a Bach chorale or
Mm.
something polyphonic. It's easier for me to take it to Sibelius, write it, and then record it.
Yeah.
So all these
Yeah.
starting points.
I was going to ask about that actually, because I see on your Instagram you do a lot of free handwriting, writing out the music by hand. I mean, do you still in a way kind of prefer that way because you've been taught that way, or do you, like you said, prefer Sibelius because it obviously does it for you?
That's an interesting question
Yeah.
because I resisted Sibelius with all my being for many years. I only started working in Sibelius in the fourth year of my BA, which is when I had my final exam where I had to present a big portfolio of pieces. They wouldn't take my handwriting.
Really?
um, I mean, I guess if I asked them nicely, they would, but
Yeah.
it looks nicer.
Yeah.
So that's when I learned Sibelius in a
Hmm.
few months. Um, Now I do appreciate Sibelius is a wonderful tool. There's, it does a lot of things very easily that it would take a long time to do by hand.
Mm.
I guess I'm writing music by hand now as more of a therapeutical activity,
Mm.
if anything.
Definitely. I mean, before we get into some of your films, then, how did you get started in music in the first place? What drew you to music originally? How did you get started?
I don't think it was my choice.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Um, I was uh, my mom wanted a daughter who plays the piano that played the piano
Mhm.
before I was born. So um, yeah, she wanted me to be a musician, a singer, whatever. And she tried taking me to all these competitions where I was very bad at. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. As a little toddler singer, I was always not getting any prizes. Um,
What kind of competition were you doing? Were you doing like live performances or?
yeah, but they were little, festivals for
Yeah.
kids. I didn't really, I really didn't like those.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Um, but then she took me to this arts and music college in my hometown, which is the place you go if you want to study music. Basically, they start school from year 1 to year 12.
Hmm.
School ends in the 12th year in Romania. Um, so I went there from year 5, which was secondary school, I think.
Yep.
And there I
Primary school,
started.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
they're
so yeah,
quite
it's like my
quite
yes,
different.
yeah, yeah, that's right, yeah.
uh, and I studied flute and piano there and a lot of other music subjects. I didn't really understand any of them until a few years later, but I was there, trying to understand. Uh, I wasn't very good to begin with, and then I got a bit ambitious, and I started going to competitions for flute performance. We had like national competitions, and there was one year, 2007, when I got selected to go to this national competition. I was the only one in my county.
Wow.
And I got fourth place again, not a great one, but that was yeah, that's my peak in flute performance. I was 14, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which one did you learn first, piano or flute?
Uh,
Or at the same time?
I think I was playing around with the piano before flute, but no one was teaching me. I just had a little keyboard, more or less like this one.
Okay. Oh, so
But
were you self-taught on the piano then, do you feel?
uh, no, I quickly got a teacher at my
Okay.
school.
Hmm.
Um, and then the flute came first because it was my main instrument. And piano was always in the background. Even when I stopped learning flute, when I went to uni, I was still doing piano because it was part of the curriculum.
Hmm.
They really emphasize the piano a lot in
Yeah.
Romanian music education.
Yeah. Are you still part of the Adelphi music group by chance? I saw you did stuff with them. Are you still doing stuff with them at the moment?
In spirit, I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're rehearsing now. They might be rehearsing with the students, but with all these um, rules in place now, it's quite hard for me to, play the flute
Mm.
safely
Yeah, okay.
in these times. But yeah, as soon as things open up, I'd love to go there.
Mm. And tell us, obviously you mentioned earlier about your time performing with the big Romanian artists. Tell us about that. What was that like for you?
Um, Paula, her name is Paula Selling. She
Mm.
actually went, I don't know if you know the Eurovision Song
Yeah, I
Contest.
do. Yep.
So she's one of the, I think she's the only artist in Romania who went twice.
Oh,
Um,
really?
and one time she got really good results, like third place, which was unheard of for our little country.
Yeah.
But she's an amazing musician, an amazing professional. She's an amazing person as well. And when I started uni, we started uni together. For some reason, she was this amazing professional musician whose music I'd been listening to since I was, I don't know, 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew her music since I
Yeah.
was a child. But she'd never done this, conservatoire kind of education, although she was very well educated musically. And we happened to be in the same group. And I don't know, I think we attracted each other in a way because we're quite similar personalities, even though I was more or less a child. And she was this mature woman and excellent professional. I was still learning, and I learned a lot from her. um, and I think that's what caused her to ask me to join her band. It was more like our connection as people than uh, my musicianship. I mean, I'm a good musician, but I wasn't quite there yet at that level. Like, I didn't really deserve it 100%, except that she saw potential in me, which was amazing. You can imagine I was thrilled when she asked me. And we had 3 years together, I
Mm-hmm.
think, more or less. And it was amazing. I learned so much, being on the stage all the time. We toured the country a lot. We saw a lot of places together. I learned how it is to, be in a professional kind of stage environment. Um, like right now, I'm using my in-ear monitors,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
um, um, they don't really help me because I can't hear myself properly.
It's okay.
um, it was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah. What were some of your favorite memories of your time together?
Well, I think the best times we had were on the road,
Hmm.
when because sometimes we had to travel to this distant city. I think the most we've traveled in a day was 10 hours,
Wow.
which makes for a lot of interesting conversational topics.
Yeah, I can
So we
imagine.
had a lot of fun, all of us, the entire band in this minibus.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, all these random subjects from philosophy, history, um, job prospects. We had an ongoing joke about me having to get a job for some reason. And I was kind of like the child of the band. Like I think I was 12 years younger than the youngest
Oh,
existing
really?
member. Yeah,
Wow.
so it was quite a you know well um how do you say it? There goes the blank,
Yeah.
the blackout.
Yeah.
um a well put together band that had been playing for a lot of years.
Mm,
So I was being welcomed into that was an amazing experience.
that's incredible. And I know that kind of around that sort of time as well, back in 2019, you were offered a place on the film music residency as part of the Brighter Sounds of Both Sides, which is
Hmm.
amazing. And you were mentored, weren't you, by Laura Rossi and
Yes,
Cristela Litris?
yes.
I mean, how was that for you,
um
the whole period?
I'll start by saying that in 14 years of musical education in Romania, no one bothered to mention female composers.
Mm.
um, not to mention female film composers. So actually, Laura was the first female film composer, that's a professional in the industry that I ever met. And although we had a short time together, we had like 5 weeks, oops, sorry, 5 days during a week,
Yeah.
uh, in which we worked closely together every day. All of us, there were, I can't remember how many composers were like me,
Mhm.
on this residency. But she mentored us, as well as Cristela Letras.
Hmm.
She was a singer. She's a singer-songwriter and sound designer, which again is um, a thing that not many women do, you know. So it's amazing to have this role model in front of you and be able to ask the questions that no one has been able to answer so far, because you know, it's a bit of a difference. When you're a male composer, you have a certain kind of experience, but when you're a female composer, those experiences differ a bit sometimes, not all the time. To be honest, it's getting a lot better in the film music industry for us.
For
So I'm
sure.
quite, yeah.
Yeah, because we'll talk about that actually as well. Because I know that following that, your work was showcased at the Independent Directions Film Festival, wasn't it? Where you got to take part in an all-female discussion panel focused on
Yeah.
overcoming the difficulties of being a female film composer. I mean, what was that like for you to be able to talk about something so difficult like that?
Uh, that's what the residency
Yeah,
was, you know, focused on. Um, so we got during that time we got to work together. I was part of a team of 4 composers, female
yeah.
composers, emerging composers, like people like me, basically. So we got to work together and create these soundtracks for short films. For one, each of us had a short film to score, each team. Sorry.
Mm,
So at the end of it, we discussed these things and we got to ask the questions and answer the questions that were popping up in this discussion panel, which I was part of, and that was actually one of the few experiences where I, you know, took the microphone and talked. Not very different to this experience.
yeah.
um, but yeah, it was really nice to share the stage, you know,
Mm.
with some people, some very important people in the industry, and to be able to discuss these things with them.
Yeah. I mean, I know that obviously the film industry is extremely difficult to get into anyway, but obviously, as you mentioned, for females, it's even harder. I mean, how difficult has it been for you to get into the industry, and just for females in general? How difficult do you think that is?
You know, I'm not the industry
Yeah,
is a very abstract concept. Like, I'm not sure, am I in the industry? Am I not? Like, I'm clearly working, I'm
yeah,
making a living out of it, but am I there? I'm not sure if I'm there yet. um, but I guess I've been lucky because I moved here and I had a lot of opportunities, and I met a lot of people who weren't phased by my being a woman. Um, I think being a woman slowed me down back in Romania a bit, not because people were intentionally trying to slow me down, but because our country still hasn't, you know, gotten over some psychological boundaries yet. Um, but here, I try to make my own way. I try uh, to work with people, to be in touch with people, to showcase my work online. That has been very important to me. A lot of my work comes through Instagram, actually,
mm,
which is something that no, or maybe very few professionals in the film music industry can say. They have their agents, their publishers, you know, their contacts. I didn't have any contacts when I came into this country. I started from scratch. Um, and I built a community online that's partly made of musicians and partly made of filmmakers, which is great because when I share my work online, there's a part of my community that asks me, you know, the technical questions, and then the other part, which are the filmmakers, maybe enjoy it, maybe they don't, but sometimes I get a message. Well, I'm working on this. Would you like to do the music for this, or you know, something like that, which is great.
mm.
Yeah.
Would
So
you? Yeah.
so I'm not sure if I'm there yet in the film music industry,
Yeah.
but I'm on my way.
Oh, that you definitely are. I mean, would you ever get yourself an agent eventually or a publicist to help you take your journey even further?
Yeah, actually, I would. I'm waiting for the right. I'm waiting for the stars to align.
Yeah, definitely. Have you looked into it at the moment, or like you said, are you just waiting for the right moment to actually find one?
uh, I've been looking into it.
Yeah.
Not too much though. Just for me to have all the information in place. And I'll be actually working on an EP, a vocal EP that has been funded with the help of Help Musicians UK
Mm.
through an award that I got from them, the Do It Differently Fund. And this EP, I'm planning to make it my own. Very personal. I'm planning to reintroduce my vocals into my compositional work because that's something that I strayed away from. Because again, in my home country, if you're a composer, you should compose. If you're a composer and you start singing, then you're not a serious composer. That's kind of
Mm.
how things work. So I've been distancing myself from this, but now I'm trying to define composition on my own terms. And because I'm planning to make this EP so personal, uh, I will be probably using it as a tool to pitch to a publisher, but that's um, maybe at the end of the year. I'm not sure.
I definitely go. I want to get into that actually. So you're aiming to release it for the end of the year, or do it?
Um, I think I'm going to release it around, I don't know, maybe June, July.
Okay.
But yeah, just building the contacts afterward, trying to, be in contact with some publishers. I'm not sure how to do that really. There's no tutorial for that.
I mean, are you looking to collaborate with other people as well, or is it primarily just your own EP? You do everything from vocals to the composition as well.
Um, on this EP, I'm not sure if I'm going to collaborate with anyone. Maybe on the technical side, if I'm getting a bit too ambitious with the sound, then maybe I can't do it on my own. But I've been able more or less to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Um,
But actually, talk about your EPs. Actually, you know, like you released your first one last year, actually, didn't you? Which is a mix of spoken word and art music based on the Romanian poet.
mhm.
How was that for you? Was it poems, a collaboration in space and time? That was the one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. What was that like to work on?
That was my master's
Oh,
dissertation.
was it?
So if you're ever interested, you or the listeners, I have a 60-page dissertation on that.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it will come with the album. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very interesting experience because I had been meaning to write music for poetry for quite a while, and then I forgot all about it. And when I was trying to find my perfect project for the dissertation, because you get to choose one,
Mm,
um, it just came back to me, and I found this obscure translator that has translated Mihai Eminescu's
yeah.
poetry into English. Mihai Eminescu is the greatest Romanian poet. Well, some say that, some don't, but he's a big name in Romanian poetry. And this teenager, the translator, his name is Corneliu Popescu, he has managed to translate an entire volume of Eminescu's poetry in the 70s during the communist regime, so bang on in the middle of the communist regime, um, when he was maybe, I don't know, 17, probably. And then when he was 18, he died in this tragic earthquake that we all know as the earthquake of 77,
Mm,
that affected a lot of Romania and probably some surrounding countries, I'm not sure. But he was a teenager, and his work is now regarded as very high quality, in the academic world. And he managed to do that in a time where the English language was frowned upon by the regime. It wasn't really taught in every school like it is today, because it represented a link to the West. So people shouldn't be looking to the West in the communist regime. So that was just an amazing story for me, and I wanted to highlight that by, I don't know, doing a little tribute for his work.
Incredible. And are you really happy with how it came out in the end?
Yeah, I think for a student project, I'm quite proud of that. There are a few little things that I would change now, but I treat it as an artifact of my, kind of like professional evolution, and I'm proud with what it is.
I was going to ask about that actually. Would you ever go back to it and kind of rework it as well at any point?
I would, if I ever got the opportunity, I would probably do it in a concert, because the way that my dissertation was thought out, it was as integrating all these virtual orchestration techniques and everything that I used in their studio composition, most of it basically in a concert setting. So I've got all the scores for it, and
Mm.
even the, I don't know if you remember, but I've got some bird sound effects there that are treated kind of like more or less rhythmically, like they appear at certain times, and those appear in the score actually. And I've created the virtual instrument. I've sampled them, and I have like a virtual instrument where you can play them on the keyboard, and they
Hmm.
appear in the score.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine um, called that instrument the keyboard.
Very nice.
Yeah.
But I know that obviously soon after that as well, like, I know that you're currently working on a project which was commissioned by BBC New Creatives for creating Dear Hometown. I saw the what it's about, and it sounds really amazing. I mean, are you able to share what it's all about, that project?
Yes, again, we go back to the communist
Yeah.
regime in Romania, this time the 50s,
Mm.
where in my hometown, there was this very weird re-education experiment that took place in a political prison. This political prison, well, it's a memorial now. It's a building
Mm.
that's also a museum. It's quite close to my childhood home. It's within walking range, but I never knew what it was, and I'm quite happy that as a child I didn't know what it was, because it's quite a heartbreaking story. Um, so a lot of these political prisoners were brought there, um, suspected on being unfaithful to the regime or unloyal thinking, as they said it. And it's tragic because they were all, I think most of them were younger than me. They were, I don't know, 17 to 26 years old. And all of them were students, were intellectuals. They were studying philosophy, history, and all of these subjects that would enable them to actually see past the regime and realize that it's wrong. And that's why they've been brought to this prison, because they represented a threat to the regime. So they weren't really guilty of anything else other than perhaps seeing that what's happening in Romania is wrong. So quite they were quite bright, as I called them in my tagline. This is what Romania's youngest and brightest had to endure during the 50s. And they were re-educated through, I think it was, there were 4 phases to this re-education process. One of them was snitching on your friends. The other was another, actually, the final one was you became the torturer. So in the end, you had to torture your friends, and that's actually what I try um, to convey with my projects, is this journey of a mostly innocent young man that comes in there believing that, oh, this is a mistake, this can't be right, why am I here, I didn't do anything. And in the end, to escape the repeated beatings and all kinds of very imaginative torture events, they had to give in and basically become a drone, become a torturer themselves. And that's it's very tragic, to be
It
honest.
really is. I mean, how difficult is it for you to work on such a deep, sort of emotional project like this?
Uh, for some reason, most of the projects I get are quite heavy,
Mm.
which I know it can't be healthy for me. Yeah, because when I get into research, for example, I remember researching this subject. I watched a lot of interviews with the survivors, which I think most of them have died by now. The interviews were from maybe 10, 15 years ago. And it was heartbreaking to watch. And then I read some books, and reading those books, I had maybe a week of reading, and I was down all the time. I couldn't, it was just every time I put the book down, I was like,
Mm.
you
I
know,
I can imagine. I mean, I was going to ask you actually if it affected you in any way.
oh, it does affect me. I'm sure it has a toll on me. I try to stay I try to stay up and do the work, because
Hmm.
I know that if I let it affect me, it stops with me. I have to basically become this conductor and amplify the story so that it reaches other people. Because if I have a breakdown because of it, I won't be able to do anything about it. And whereas if I tell the story and I create a project out of it, other people will hear it. The story will reach other people. Perhaps some people will be able to do something about it. I mean, this is a historical episode. You can't really fix it, but it's important for people to know about it, because maybe it can prevent it from being repeated at some point, at some time in the future.
Definitely. And when do you plan to release the work?
The work has been delivered, I think, to
Okay.
the BBC, so now it's up to them when they will air it. I'm going to get an email from them at some point, because they have to basically find the perfect slot for it. You know, in a context, to contextualize it within a
Hmm.
program. So that's a process. So I'm not sure, but it should be this year,
Oh,
I
brilliant.
think.
I'll definitely keep an eye out for that for you. Definitely keep an eye out. And just a couple of other questions actually before we go. I know that as well as being a composer, you're also a writer for Senegal. Is that something you still do at the moment?
Yes, actually, I wrote an article. I didn't get to write anything for the latest issue because I've been too busy, unfortunately. But yeah, that's something that I'm very fond of, actually,
Mm.
because I get to shed light on some of my experiences, and I'm hoping that it mm, it can help others. You know, especially being a young woman and an emerging female composer in the industry. I know that I needed to read some things, to know some things before doing this, and so I'm trying to put them all down
Mm.
for younger people.
And I can know that what it's all about is it's an online magazine that features an expansive galaxy of different topics that are that women are working within the film and TV industry care about. I mean, how did you
Hmm.
originally get to work with them in the first place?
Oh, Instagram.
Oh, Instagram again. There we go. Instagram.
Yes, yes, I have been
Yeah.
following them for a while and reading their materials,
Hmm.
and that was something that I really resonated with, you can imagine. And so when they put a call out um, for writers, I'm like, me,
Yeah.
take me.
Brilliant. And also along with that, also you got selected to join the BFI network and BAFTA crew for this year, which is
Yeah,
amazing as well. How does that feel?
that's it's great, really. It's a confirmation, because you know when you're doing the work. You don't really have time to stop and wonder, am I there yet, am I doing it right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you do, but you can't really, you know, assess where you are. But
Mm.
when something like this happens, that's a huge confirmation.
Yeah.
um, yeah. You
Definitely.
know,
I mean, what's it actually involved then? Being part of that crew, what's involved in that position?
so this is basically a talent development program
Hmm.
slash community put together by BFI and BAFTA. um, to be supported. So I'm part of a community of creatives, of people working in the film industry, uh, emerging creatives, actually, people that are kind of like at the same stage at their career as I am. Uh, and we get all these amazing opportunity, like master classes with award-winning, professionals in the film industry. Um, the other day we had a roundtable, a virtual roundtable with Seguna Kinola, which is the composer for Doctor Who,
Wow.
which was just amazing
Yeah.
to talk to him and pick his mind for a while.
Yeah.
And
Is
yeah.
it just for the 1 year, or does it continue after that as well?
Well, it's for a year. It's for 2021, but then you get to be an alumni, which I'm not
Okay.
sure what that means, but I'll tell you in a year.
Okay, okay, I'll find out in a year then. But before we go, actually, I know they've released some amazing projects such as Huey and the new trailer for Do You Still Ask Me, which is
Oh, yeah.
all amazing, actually. I mean, do you have any personal favorite projects of yours that you've released over the past few years?
Any what? Sorry.
Any personal favorite projects that you've released over the
Oh,
past couple?
personal favorite.
Yeah, because I've heard the
Uh,
challenges again last night. They were amazing. I mean, do you have any personal favorite ones that you've released?
well, I think my personal favorites aren't released yet.
Oh, really?
There's such a long wait time with some of the projects. Like I wrote the music 6 months ago,
Yeah.
and it's still not out there. Um, but so do you still ask about me? It hasn't been released yet. We released a trailer, but that
Mm.
was I really loved working on that project. It's a beautiful short film, and I don't know, it was just wonderfully made. But
Mm.
also Huey, on the other hand, with all the experimental soundscapes, sound design, all kinds of glitches, and then all of that blended with classical piano material. Uh, Again, they're all so different that you can't pick a favorite.
Yeah. I mean, on average, how long would you say that do you get the chance to work on a project? Does it say a few weeks or a couple of months? How long do you think on average you get the chance to work on something?
Oh, it obviously
It
depends on the
depends, but
project.
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think my shortest project was a 20-second piece of music, 20-second long piece of music. And then my longest projects are the feature films, which are kind of like 40 minutes.
Hmm.
Um, so it really depends. And it also depends on the workflow, because I create something, then I email it, get feedback to see if it's the right direction. Sometimes we kind of like delay these emails. So if it were for me, like there are some projects that I would finish in a day, but I'm not the
Yeah.
only one working on them, so I need to um, get confirmation on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything from a day to a few months.
Oh, wow. Okay. And when you do send off the ideas, do you normally say wait a day or two just to be sure that you still like the ideas, or do you just create them and send them straight away?
Send them straight away.
Straight away, yeah. 'Cause I know that with me when I compose stuff, I like to kind of wait sometimes because sometimes if I like it the next day, then I'll send it off. But it's I always change my mind so quickly on things. Is that the same for you? Do you change your mind quite a lot when you're working on things, or do you just stick to what you created right then and there?
Sometimes I do change my mind, but most of the times I just go with what I wrote. Basically, if I like it enough to send it over to someone and they like it too, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Um, it's very rarely that they say I'm not sure. Yeah, twice in my life it
Okay.
happened for two cues to be completely um, uh, how do you call it? You're completely cut off. But usually it's like, oh yeah, that's perfect for the scene. Or
Yeah.
maybe that violin, if you can go for a bit longer, like little details like that,
Yeah.
not much.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I usually just send over what I've worked on.
Hmm. And do you send say quite a few ideas, or just send like say one or two at a time, just to make sure that they like what they hear?
Um, Very rarely I send two ideas, and that's only if I get if I can see kind of like two facets of the same scene that could be conveyed by the music. I've done that recently, actually, with Do You Still Ask About Me? Sent two separate cues for the same scene, but usually I just write my vision, send it over. If it's all right, I go on in that direction. I don't usually create two ideas for the same scene
Ah,
to begin with.
okay. But I just want to say thank you so much for being part of the podcast today. It's been so good to talk to you. So thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you for inviting
My
me. It's
pleasure.
really nice, actually, to be
Thank you.
here. Thank you for this opportunity.
It's my pleasure. And before we go, actually, how can people find you online as well? On Instagram
Uh,
and so forth?
yeah, I'm on
Yeah.
Instagram mostly.
Yeah.
My name, just look for my name, Adina Nelu. Adina.Nelu, I think my
Mhm.
handle is. And then my website is adinanelu.co.uk, and you can actually find all my social media on there as well.
Oh, fantastic. Adina, thank you so much for today. I really loved it. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Giorgio.
Okay, and take care, everyone. Bye bye.